We are now into that final stretch of the Premier League season, and the relegation dogfight is well and truly on. Everyone is exchanging blows in this fight down the bottom. There's 9 teams separated by just 7 points. Today, we're going to have a little look at the Premier League relegation run-in and see who's got the more favourable fixtures compared to the others. Do make sure, if you're a Premier League fan, to hit a like on this video. We'll go for 226 likes. So hit that thumbs up button and do make sure to subscribe. It's free to do, so make sure you're subscribed. And like I say, guys, there's so many teams involved in this. What could separate some teams from others is their run-in. Who's got the tougher fixtures coming up and who's in the worst form. What I've said for most of this season is 36 points should be enough to get you over the line. So if your team's on 26 points with 10 games to go, you probably need 10 points from that final 10 to just about get over the line. 37 or 38 should definitely be enough as well, but 36 might just be the bare minimum to scrape in. And let's have a little look at the run-in. We're going to go through it team by team in order of how they are placed in the table at this moment in time. And we start with Crystal Palace, who are still top of this mini league down the bottom. And what a result it was against Leicester City. We did say they've got massive 6-pointers coming, and pretty much all of their games from now on in are 6-pointers, other than when they play Tottenham and Fulham. And I just look at that fixture list and I can't see a way in which Crystal Palace will go down. Not just because they won against Leicester City at the weekend, which was massive, but looking at those games, they're surely going to win another 2 and maybe just get another draw on top, which would get them to safety. I'm not saying they're going to win all of these games because, like I say, everyone can beat everyone in the Premier League, but based on the fact they've got so many opportunities to pick up points here, I think they will do enough. I think Everton at home, West Ham at home, Bournemouth at home and Forest at home are 4 home games you really want to target. And even the away games, Leeds United, which is next, Southampton, Wolves, Spurs could be tricky, but Fulham, they might be on the beach. So I think Palace will be all right. You look at that run-in, it's quite favourable. The next team are Wolves. Wolves have got Chelsea and Brentford at home in their next 2 games, which aren't easy, but they're not impossible to win. I think if they were to get 3 points out of the 2 games, that would be okay. They've got Leicester City and Crystal Palace back to back. That is absolutely massive. Then Brighton away, which is tricky. I do think Brighton are a very good team, and going away will be tough. And the final 4 games, Aston Villa at home, who've been very good, Man United away, Everton at home, who are going to be fighting for their lives, and then Arsenal away. If I'm a Wolves fan, I'm looking at Chelsea and Brentford and thinking, try and win at least one of those 2. Leicester and Palace, once again, if they just win one of those 2, and then if they win one of that final 4 or 5 games, that would get Wolves over the line. So it's not an easy run in here, but Wolves, if they get points in the next couple of games, will be okay. If they fail to win any of the next 3, for example, they'll be right in the mix and the pressure will be on. Next up, you've got West Ham United, who've shot up the table and do have a game in hand, as you can see. First up, they've got Newcastle United at home. Then they've got Fulham away, which, you know, you look at those 2 games, West Ham will think, well, if we can win one of them, that'd be a good return, considering they've just won their last game against Southampton. It's then Arsenal at home, which is obviously a bit of a free hit at this moment in time. Bournemouth away, Liverpool at home. It could be one where West Ham might get a point. Crystal Palace away, Man City away, definite free hit. And then Manchester United at home, maybe a free hit, but they might still fancy their chances of getting something. Brentford away, Leeds at home, and then Leicester away. Those final 2 games are absolutely massive. But with the way the West Ham have shot up the table and they've got a couple games in hand here, they can afford a few defeats. And you look at the games like Fulham away, Bournemouth away, Palace away, Brentford away and Leicester away. Those away games are not impossible for West Ham to get something. Definitely the home game against Leeds and maybe Newcastle is where they could target points at home. I think West Ham once again are going to be close, but this run-in isn't the worst, so they might just be alright this season. Next up are Nottingham Forest, and we all know Nottingham Forest are better when they're at home as opposed to away, but they will need to get something on the road if they're to get over the line this season. Their next 2 games are both away, Leeds United and Aston Villa. While they're not impossible games to get something from, it does seem with Forest's away record, they're not going to be confident going into those 2 games. Leeds United have improved a bit under Grazia, so that's not an easy one. Aston Villa have certainly improved under Emery, so Forest will be thinking if they could just win one of those 2, that'd be a great achievement, especially as their next 2 games after that are Manchester United and Liverpool away. So those next 4 for Forest are not nice. They just need to win 1 and maybe draw 1 and they'll be okay going into some more favourable fixtures. Brighton at home, Brentford away and Southampton at home. The first 2 aren't easy, but once again, if they could get a draw or 2 somewhere there, and they need to win Southampton at home. If Forest don't beat Southampton at home, I think they could go down. That is a massive game where they've got to win. If they don't win that, they'd probably have to go away to Chelsea and win because it's such a big game. Then they've got Arsenal at home, which is a massive game. Arsenal might actually win the league at the City Ground, depending on how the title race plays out. And then Crystal Palace away on the final day is massive. It's very possible Forest could be still in the conversation going away to Palace, but the best case scenario in that instance is they're above the bottom three. They don't want to be going away to Palace needing a win and other results. So I think it still looks okay for Forest. That draw against Wolves wasn't a disaster, but it wasn't great considering they'd taken the lead. I think Forest are just running that line at the moment. They cannot afford for it to dip at any point because they're still just a matter of points above that bottom three. It's very close. Next up, we'll come on to AFC Bournemouth, who've shot out that bottom three with a win against Fulham. And you look at their run in, it's very possible Bournemouth could really get a move on. I think now Bournemouth are above the bottom three, they need to stay there. They've got Brighton at home, Leicester City away, Tottenham away. If you look at those three games in isolation, they'll be thinking, we can at least try and win one of them. Spurs away probably being the trickiest, Brighton at home being not an impossible game to get something from, but we all know Brighton are a good team. Leicester away is a massive 6-pointer. And then it's West Ham, Southampton and Leeds. Three massive 6-pointers where obviously you don't want to lose a 6-pointer, but they could lose one and win two, and two of them are at home, so that's massive for Bournemouth. And then the final four games, well, it's Chelsea and Man United are the two home games, which isn't easy, but Palace and Everton are the away games, so they might need some big away wins, especially with Leicester, Southampton, Palace and Everton all being away games. They do need to go somewhere and take 3 points. With a few more home points as well, Bournemouth could just be a surprise package team to just survive come the end of the season. Next up, you've got Leeds United. Their next game against Nottingham Forest is massive. I'll be live streaming that game on the Tuesday night. It's Forest at home, and then Palace at home, and then Liverpool at home. So 3 home games in a row before Fulham away, and then Leicester City at home and Bournemouth away. I wouldn't say any of those 6 games are impossible for Leeds to get a result from. Liverpool at home might sound the hardest on paper, but Liverpool have not been amazing this season, and Leeds did get a result at Anfield. Forest at home and Palace at home, the first 2 games though, Leeds really need to win because they're now chasing those 2 teams. They're below them in the table, so if they get 4 points from those 2, that'd be great for Leeds United. And then as for those final 4 games, Manchester City away is, well, it's a bit of a free hit really. Newcastle United at home could be an interesting one. Newcastle could be playing for that top 4 at that moment in time. West Ham United away is a really tricky one, and it could all come down to Spurs at home, which could be a massive game for Spurs as well in terms of the Champions League. I think those next 6 games are massive for Leeds, and in none of those games do I feel absolutely confident that Leeds would lose. I think all 6 of them are games Leeds could get something from. So I like this first 6 games for Leeds. I like the last 4 games less. I think it's possible Leeds will stay up, but they need a good run now. Otherwise, it's going to be tricky going into that final 4, as I say, especially if they were to be in the bottom 3. They need something from the next 6, ideally at least 2 wins. Next up, you've got Everton, who currently occupy a bottom 3 place, but they do play Tottenham Hotspur tonight. And then it's Manchester United away, then Fulham at home, Crystal Palace away, Newcastle at home, and then Leicester City away. So out of those 6 games, they've got 2 relegation 6-pointers against Leicester and Crystal Palace. They're both away from home, so they do need to get a big away win there. But you look at Fulham at home and maybe Spurs at home tonight, and you think it's not impossible Everton could get something from those games. I think it's going to be close with Everton. The fact they've dropped into the bottom 3 because of other results, they now have pressure on them to now get something against Spurs, Man United or Fulham. They want to get a minimum of 4 or 5 points from the next 3 or 4 games. Next up, you've got Leicester City, who've dropped to 19th. Now Leicester City could be a wild card with the change in management at this moment in time. We don't know who is replacing Brendan Rodgers, but you've got Aston Villa at home and Bournemouth at home this week. They are absolutely massive games. If they were to not win either of them, I think that could be it for Leicester. I know they could still find a way out, and they did it in 2015 when they stayed up dramatically in those final 8 games. But I just look at those next 2 as a massive opportunity to get moving, because after that it's Manchester City away, which is seriously a free hit. They do have 3 6-pointers after that. Wolves at home, Leeds away, Everton at home. They could all be absolutely bonkers games. And then after that, it's Fulham, Liverpool, Newcastle, and the final game is West Ham. So, like I say, you've got 2 big games, the Man City free hit, 3 massive games, a couple of tricky ones, and then West Ham on the final day. So, Leicester City, another team that really want to get out of that bottom 3 going into the final 4 games or so. The final team you've got are Southampton, and it was a really bad weekend for them in the weekend just gone because everyone down there seemed to pick up something, where Southampton did fail to get anything at West Ham. The next 3 games for Southampton are really tricky. Manchester City at home, Palace at home, and then Arsenal away. I think Southampton fans would be happy with 3 points from those 3 games, and if we're being realistic, it'd have to be against Crystal Palace, because I don't think they're going to do what they did against Manchester City in the Carabao Cup in the Premier League. And Arsenal away is a very tricky one. Bournemouth at home comes after that, but you just wonder, if Southampton haven't won any of the next 3, could it be too late to get anything against Bournemouth? And they really need to keep themselves in touching distance, is what I'm trying to say. The final 4 games aren't impossible. Forest away, Fulham at home, Brighton away, and Liverpool at home. They just need to keep within touching distance. If they go into those final 4 games still, say, 2 or 3 points away from 17th place, there's a chance they could just sneak out at the end. But it does look like at this moment in time, Southampton have got the most difficult task, with them being bottom at this moment in time, having played a game more than most, and not an easy run-in. So then, guys, give me your thoughts. Like I say, these are the fixtures, so do let me know which teams are going to do the best out of these and who's got the best run-in coming into these games. Massive games coming up. Everyone is involved in this bottom 9. If you like your Premier League content, do make sure to drop a like and subscribe. We'll talk about this Premier League relegation battle very soon again. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.